Alright, so we're looking at how I completed this, point out a few tricks that I did. Collect more images than less, because you never know what you can use. It's labeled as much as I can. This is the foreground. So let's start. This is the forest, which is the background, which I put an effect on. It's just a light hue effect. I just want to make it a little warmer and darker. You can look at hues and play with the lightness and darkness. I didn't have her on. Make sure you hit the icon when you do open it. If you hit here, it's going to open up properties. And you just can adjust. And what you're seeing is the places I masked to show you about masking. So I can actually mask light also. So I just wanted it a little bit darker than it came naturally. And then you can mask and bring out images also if you wanted to bring back the original. So that is that. Then I worked on the boot. So I changed the boot by adding hue, but I did also a lot of dodge and burn. Dodge. Burn will make it darker and richer, yeah, and then dodging will make it lighter. So if I wanted to intensify light coming, I would use the one that looks like a lollipop, dodge, and then the one that looks like two hands closing, like your fingers and your thumbs closing together to kind of burn, kind of get these like darker, richer, look like a tree's kind of hovering over it. Always make sure that you save your original. That's why I have a saved here. And I have all my masking happening. So this is where I masked out all of. So I can disable and you can see that you're not really seeing where I masked it. And then I did a hue, and that's about what I did for the shoe. And then the kids were those photos I showed you of the performers on the street. And I just scaled the size down, and I really made sure I started with masking them roughly to find out where I could put them. I also added just an airbrush black over places I really wanted dark. So I felt like she's kind of tucked into that space. It should be really dark and hard to see her. And there was just times where they felt a little too bright, like the shoes very, very white. So I just darkened up the shoes with a little airbrush and blur. So I'd use a little bit of filters and I'd use blur in it. So remember that hand project where you had to go through and use some of the filters and effects? This is where you kind of put them back to use. What I did is I made sure that, see how it affects everything? But if I direct it directly to the kids, it'll only affect the kids. It's not affecting the background. So you can do that to a whole folder. Then I did door, and when I did the door, I also added effects. The beveled, stroke, inner glow. I just kind of played with a whole bunch of effects, and you do that by just clicking on and you get effects here, or you can put effects on from down below here. I can also manipulate them later, if I wanted more, I can manipulate it, take it away. So remember, it's a nice way of being able to come back and edit something without it affecting the image. There's just little ways to kind of make it feel like it's in the shoe. I might need to darken and enrichen the edges a little bit more. Maybe make this darker so it feels like it's bending with the shoe a little bit more. And then I put a tree in front because I thought I wanted a foreground, middle ground, background. And when looking at it, these two greens don't quite match up. So you can add a hue effect to kind of make this a little more red and yellow. It's just these little subtle things that really help carry the story. So that's what I did to kind of set it up, how I kind of started laying things out. Alright, so I'm done with this. I'm going to make sure that this is closed because we're going to start working on what you would do to get your file set up. So most people would think that they would just take all their images they found and select them and then kind of open them up, drag them into Photoshop like this. That's one way of doing it. But if you do it that way, it opens up all of these tabs. And it's very hard to go back and forth with the tabs to create it into the page you want. So if I wanted it here, I would have to copy this, and then I have to go to the one I wanted and paste it in, and then I'd have to change the size and scale. It's just better to have all of them in one layer, where these are all on their own actual tab windows. So I would not recommend doing it this way. And this is the way I've learned that is the best way to kind of get all the parts that you're going to be working on into one file, which is select them all. And this is kind of the same way we worked on the cityscape. And then I just can click on it, or I can use the check up here to add all the files.
So if you're watching this video, this is a different approach of creating this. For your assignment, you were asked to prepare all your photos so that when you combine it, you're ready to go, not lay it out and then clip it out. So I think that the way we're doing it is a much better way. I hope this gave you some tips or just an idea of how much you have to play around to create the right atmosphere. So this will take some time. Hopefully this was helpful.